Right now, you're living inside a story about who you are, where you're going, what the world is, and how you're supposed to act within it. You believe this story without even realizing it's a story. And like a dream so vivid you forget you're dreaming, you take the whole thing as real. But what if I told you that Alan Watts, a man who spent his life studying the deepest truths of existence, discovered that this story you're living in is an illusion? What if the thing we call reality isn't what we think it is, not even close? And what if, hidden in plain sight, there's a secret so profound that once you see it, your entire life changes not incrementally, but completely? Let's start with a simple question that unlocks everything. What is reality? But is it what you see with your eyes, hear with your ears, touch with your skin? Is it your thoughts, your emotions, your body? Most of us live as if reality is out there, an external world filled with people, objects, time and space. And we move through this world like separate units, trying to survive, succeed, and find meaning. But Watts saw something far more radical. He saw that reality is not out there. It's not even in here. Reality is relationship. It's not a thing. It's a process, a happening, a dance between the observer and the observed. And you are not a spectator of this dance. You are it. You are the dance.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
This sounds abstract, but it's not. It's the most practical truth you'll ever realize. Because the moment you stop seeing yourself as a separate ego trapped in a hostile universe and start seeing yourself as one movement in a cosmic flow, you stop fighting reality and start flowing with it. You stop resisting what is and begin to play. That's what Watts meant when he said, "You are the universe experiencing itself." Not metaphorically, literally. But let's back up for a second. Let's look at how this illusion of separateness forms in the first place. From the moment we're born, we're taught to split the world. There's a you and a them, a subject and an object, a mind and a body, a self and a world. Language itself reinforces this split. We say things like I think, I feel, I have a body, as if there's a little ghost inside your head pulling the levers of this machine called me. But Watts said, this is the root of our confusion. There is no thinker behind the thoughts. There is no self behind the experience. There is only experiencing. There is only this present moment happening. And here's where it gets wild. You can't find the self no matter how hard you try. Go ahead, try to locate the I. Is it in your brain? Your thoughts? Your memories? Your name? The more you look, the more it slips through your fingers. Because the self isn't a thing. It's a pattern, a process. Just like a flame isn't a solid object, but the ongoing combustion of gases, the self is the ongoing interaction of sensation, memory, perception, and thought. It's not a noun, it's a verb. And once you see this, everything shifts. You stop clinging so tightly to your identity. You stop obsessing over your image, your status, your fears. Because you realize you were never a fixed thing to begin with. You were always in motion, always changing, always becoming. And the need to define yourself, to defend yourself, to become something starts to dissolve. You don't stop existing. You just stop being a prisoner of your own story. Watts used a powerful analogy here. He said reality is like music. You don't listen to a symphony to reach the final note. You listen because of how it unfolds. Life isn't a problem to be solved. It's a song to be heard, a dance to be danced. But we miss this because we're always trying to get somewhere else. We treat the present moment as a stepping stone to the next thing. But the truth is, the present moment is all there is. And once you realize that, once you really get that the future is just a concept and the past is just memory, and the only thing that's ever real is now you wake up. So here's the real question. What are you running from? What are you trying to become? And who told you that you weren't already enough? This is what Watts saw so clearly, that our suffering doesn't come from the world, it comes from our interpretation of the world, from the way we divide it, label it, and cling to those labels as if they're truth. But the universe doesn't speak in labels. It doesn't know good or bad, success or failure, right or wrong. It just is. It moves. It flows. And when you align with that flow, when you stop trying to impose your will on it, and instead really listen, you start to live with a kind of ease, a kind of grace, that doesn't come from control, but from connection. Let's take a real-world example. You're facing a difficult decision, maybe a breakup, a career change, a health issue. The ego wants certainty. It wants guarantees. It wants to know the right answer. But reality doesn't work that way. It's not a multiple choice test. It's a living question. And the answer isn't out there waiting to be found. It emerges in motion, in action, in surrender. Watts would say, stop trying to control the wave. You are the wave. This doesn't mean you do nothing. It means you stop pretending you're separate from the process. You listen to your inner knowing. You act from presence, not pressure. And you trust that life knows what it's doing even when you don't, especially when you don't. And here's something even deeper to consider. What if the entire structure of your reality, your name, your goals, your beliefs, your fears is built on a misunderstanding? What if the you you're trying to protect doesn't actually exist in the way you think it does? This is not about nihilism. This is about freedom. Because when you no longer believe you're a fixed, fragile self that must be defended at all costs, you become fluid. You become playful. You become real. You stop living in fear and start living in wonder. But this realization doesn't come from thinking hard about it. It comes from seeing, from being, from stopping. And that's what makes this so challenging. Because we've been trained from birth to do, to achieve, to become. But Watts is inviting us to unlearn all of that, to sit still, to breathe, to look at a tree and realize that it's not a tree, it's a process, movement, just like you, just like everything. So here's your moment of truth. Can you stop trying to fix life and start participating in it? Can you stop trying to be someone and start being what you already are? Because that's the secret Alan Watts saw clearly. That reality isn't what you think. It's not what you name it or what you expect it to be. It's not your problems or your plans or your projections. It's this, right here, right now, before your mind makes it into something, before you judge it, before you try to change it. And the more you drop into that silence, that stillness, that awareness behind the chatter, the more you realize that you've never been lost. You've just been dreaming, and now you're starting to wake up. Imagine this: you're in a dream so vivid, so immersive, that you forget you're dreaming. The world feels real. The people seem separate. The problems seem urgent. You're running, chasing, fearing, hoping. And then suddenly you begin to notice something. A glitch. A moment of silence inside the noise. A feeling that none of it quite adds up. That's the moment you begin to wake up. And that's exactly what Alan Watts was pointing to. He wasn't trying to give us answers. He was trying to shake us out of the trance. Because when you wake up from the dream of separation, you don't just see reality differently, you see that reality is different. It's not what you were taught. It's not what you thought. It's not a fixed world made of solid objects and isolated minds. It's a flowing, dancing, shimmering event, and you are not a spectator to it. You are it. But waking up isn't easy, because the dream is convincing. It's reinforced by everything: school, culture, media, even language. We're taught from childhood that we are individuals separate, enclosed, cut off from the world around us. We're taught that the world is made up of things, objects with names and boundaries. But Watts asks us to look closer. What is a thing, really? Where does a tree end and the air begin? Where does the ocean stop and the wave begin? Where do you end and the universe begin? The closer you look, the more the lines blur, because the lines were never there. They were drawn in the mind. Reality itself is not broken into parts. It's whole. It's seamless. It's one. So why does this matter? Because the illusion of separation is the root of almost all human suffering. Think about it. Why do we fear death? Because we think I will end. Why do we compete, hoard, hate? Because we think I must protect itself from them. Why do we chase validation and success? Because we think I must become worthy. But what if the I is just a role, a character, a temporary form the universe is playing? What if the self you're trying so hard to preserve is just a mask, beautiful, yes, but not you? Watts didn't want to destroy the ego. He wanted us to stop believing in it as the ultimate truth. The ego is useful, like a tool, like a costume. But it's not your essence. Your essence is being itself. It's the awareness behind the thoughts, the stillness behind the movement, the silence behind the noise. And the more you rest in that awareness, the more the dream starts to fade. Not in a scary way, but in a liberating way. You begin to see life not as a battlefield, but as a playground. You stop trying to prove yourself and start expressing yourself. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and start feeling, "What wants to move through me right now?" That's not passivity, that's presence. That's alignment. That's what it means to live from the source instead of the story. And here's the wild part. When you stop clinging to your identity, when you stop trying to be someone, you become more authentically yourself than ever. Because you're no longer operating from fear or control. You're operating from truth. You're moving with the same intelligence that makes trees grow and stars die and babies laugh. You're not separate from life anymore. You are life, waking up to itself. But this waking up doesn't happen all at once. It comes in waves. Sometimes you'll fall back into the dream. You'll get caught in the drama, the roles, the stress. That's okay. That's part of the play. The key is to remember you're dreaming. And the moment you remember, you're free, even for a second, even in the middle of chaos. So let's go deeper. If reality isn't what we think, if it's not fixed, not separate, not definable, then what is it? Watts would say, it's experience, not the experience of a separate self, but experience itself. The raw, alive, undefinable happening of this moment, before you name it, before you judge it, before you try to make sense of it. Just this, the sound of your breath, the sensation in your hands, the light flickering behind your eyes. That's reality, not the labels, not the thoughts, not the story. This. And here's the mind-blowing part. The more you live in that raw experience, the more magical life becomes. Ordinary things start to shine. A sip of water becomes sacred. A breeze on your skin becomes a blessing. A conversation becomes a portal. Because you're not experiencing life through a filter anymore. You're tasting it directly. That's what Watts meant when he said, "This is it." Not in some mystical, esoteric way. In the most grounded, direct, embodied way possible. This is it, not tomorrow, not after enlightenment, not when you fix your life. Right now, right here, with all its mess and mystery and beauty. This moment is not a stepping stone. It's the destination. So here's the real challenge. Can you stop searching? Can you stop waiting for life to begin and realize it already has? Can you stop trying to understand reality and start being it? Because the moment you stop trying to grasp it, you become it. The moment you stop trying to define it, you dissolve into it. And that's not loss. That's liberation. You don't vanish. You expand. You become the sky instead of the cloud, the ocean instead of the wave, the dreamer instead of the dream character. And then even the problems start to change. Not because they disappear, but because you relate to them differently. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this showing me?" You stop fighting reality and start dancing with it. And in that dance you become light. You become free. Not because life is perfect, but because you're no longer trapped in the illusion. Watts used to say that trying to control life is like trying to grab water with your fist. The tighter you squeeze, the less you hold. But if you relax your hand, the water flows through you. That's the art of living. Not domination, not control, but flow. And when you live like that, reality stops being a problem and starts being a poem. So here's your final reflection. What if you stopped trying to wake up and simply realized you were never asleep? What if the search for truth ended not in a conclusion, but in a surrender? What if the secret Alan Watts saw clearly is the same secret hiding in your own breath, your own awareness, your own being right now? Because it is. You don't need to become anything. You don't need to fix yourself. You don't even need to understand. You just need to be. And when you do, you're not separate from the truth. You are the truth, expressed in human form, dreaming not of a better life, but of remembering the one you already have. And maybe, just maybe, This is the moment you wake up.